Ferrari may have copied the very qualifying trick that once placed Mercedes under suspicion, and Lewis Hamilton could be at the center of it. The allegation appeared in a report dated July 23, 2026, linking Ferrari, Mercedes, Hamilton, and a supposedly illegal qualifying method. But the most important detail is also the most dangerous one. The available source does not reveal what the alleged trick was. It provides no technical explanation, no stewarding document, no regulation, no telemetry, and no evidence that Ferrari copied anything from Mercedes. So this story begins with an explosive question, not a confirmed verdict. Did Ferrari discover a hidden way to unlock Hamilton's qualifying pace, or has one dramatic headline turned suspicion into something that sounds like proof? Because if Ferrari really adopted a system previously considered illegal, the consequences could reach far beyond one's starting position. The car could face investigation. Hamilton's qualifying results could be questioned. And every rival team would immediately demand to know where innovation ended and rule-breaking began. But before anyone can answer that, one missing piece has to be exposed. What exactly was Mercedes accused of doing, and is there any real evidence that Ferrari repeated it? Subscribe to the channel. To understand why this allegation matters, you first have to separate the headline from the evidence. The headline connects Ferrari, Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton, qualifying performance, and an allegedly illegal trick. That combination is powerful. It immediately creates suspicion. It suggests that Ferrari may have copied something controversial. It suggests that Hamilton may be benefiting from a hidden advantage. And it suggests that Mercedes may have used the same method before. But the attached source does not explain what that method actually was. There is no technical description. There is no regulation quoted. There is no stewarding decision. There is no official statement from Ferrari, Mercedes, Formula One, or the governing body. And there is no evidence showing that Lewis Hamilton used anything illegal. That changes the way this entire story has to be understood. Because in Formula One, the word illegal can mean very different things. It can describe a system that clearly breaks a written rule. It can describe an idea that sits inside a gray area. It can describe a design that was legal when introduced, then restricted later. Or it can simply appear in a headline before any official ruling exists. Those are not the same thing. And confusing them can turn a technical question into an accusation. This is the first major point. A controversial idea is not automatically an illegal one. A copied concept is not automatically proof of wrongdoing. And a faster qualifying lap is not proof that a hidden system exists. Formula One teams study one another constantly. They watch onboard footage. They study photographs. They compare car behavior. They examine how rival machines accelerate, brake, warm their tires, and change direction. That is normal competition. The entire sport is built around observation. One team discovers an advantage. Another team tries to understand it. Then the whole grid begins searching for a similar solution. But copying an idea and copying an illegal system are two completely different claims. The first can be part of normal development. The second requires evidence. And the source does not provide that evidence. Still, the headline raises a question that cannot be ignored. Why connect this story specifically to qualifying? Qualifying is where Formula One cars are pushed toward their most extreme performance. Fuel loads are lower. Drivers attack more aggressively. Tires are prepared for one decisive lap. Engine settings, energy deployment, and car balance are all focused on extracting maximum speed at exactly the right moment. That makes qualifying the perfect place for rumors to grow. A car suddenly improves. A driver finds unexpected pace. A rival notices unusual behavior. And immediately, people begin searching for a hidden explanation. But here is the problem. Qualifying performance can change for many reasons. Tire temperature, track evolution, wind direction, car setup, driver confidence. A small mistake from a rival, a cleaner final sector. One improvement can look suspicious when the real explanation is completely ordinary. That is why technical evidence matters. Without it, people begin filling the gaps themselves. And once that happens, suspicion can spread faster than facts. The Hamilton connection makes the story even more explosive. Lewis Hamilton is one of the most closely watched drivers in Formula One. Every improvement is analyzed. Every difficult session is questioned. Every change in performance creates a new debate. So when his name appears beside Ferrari, Mercedes, and the word illegal, the reaction becomes immediate. But the source does not explain whether Hamilton was accused personally. It does not state that he requested a system. It does not say that he knew about any questionable method. It does not even describe what Ferrari supposedly copied. That distinction is essential. A driver can benefit from a technical system without designing it. A driver can use a car without knowing every engineering detail inside it. And a headline can place a driver at the center of a story even when the actual issue concerns the team. That is why responsibility has to be handled carefully. If a technical system existed, the first questions would be aimed at the engineers. How did it work? When was it introduced? Which rule did it allegedly break? Was it inspected? Was it approved? Did the governing body issue guidance? Did rival teams protest? None of those answers appear in the attached material. So the real story, at this stage, is not that Ferrari has been caught. It is that a serious allegation has been presented without the information needed to prove it. And that creates two very different possibilities. The first is that there is a genuine technical controversy behind the headline. A system may have existed, questions may have been raised. Ferrari may have studied an idea associated with Mercedes, and officials may have needed to examine whether it followed the rules. The second possibility is far less dramatic. The headline may be connecting separate pieces of Formula One history to create a much larger accusation than the evidence supports. Without the missing details, both possibilities remain open. And this is where the word copy becomes so important. Formula One teams rarely copy an entire system exactly. They copy principles. They study effects. They see what a rival car appears to be doing, then create their own interpretation. Think of two chefs trying to create the same flavor. One may use different ingredients. Another may change the method. The result can appear similar even though the process is not identical. Formula One development works in a similar way. Two cars may produce the same behavior through completely different designs. That means similar qualifying performance does not prove that Ferrari copied Mercedes. Similar car movement does not prove the same mechanism exists. And even if the underlying idea is similar, legality can depend on the exact way it is achieved. That is the hidden complexity. In Formula One, a concept can be legal in one form and illegal in another. A system can pass inspection under one interpretation and fail under another. A design can sit within the wording of the rules while challenging their intention. That is why teams constantly push toward the edge. Not beyond it, toward it. The fastest teams search for areas where the regulations allow creativity. The governing body then studies those solutions. Sometimes the idea survives. Sometimes the rules are clarified. Sometimes the system is restricted. And sometimes nothing happens because the design was legal all along. Without the actual regulation or technical explanation, nobody can honestly place Ferrari on one side of that line. But the allegation still creates pressure. If Ferrari's qualifying performance improves, rivals may look more closely. If Hamilton suddenly becomes stronger over one lap, every detail of the car could face new attention. If Mercedes used a similar idea in the past, people may search for visual or behavioral similarities. And once that comparison begins, the burden of proof becomes extremely important. Because a rumor can damage trust before an investigation even starts. Ferrari would face questions. Mercedes would be pulled back into an old controversy. Hamilton's performance would be judged through suspicion. And rival teams might demand clarification even without presenting direct evidence. That is how technical politics works in Formula One. One team asks a question. Another team becomes defensive. The governing body is forced to respond. And suddenly, a private engineering discussion becomes a public crisis. But before any of that can be treated as fact, the missing piece remains the same. What was the alleged trick? Was it related to tire preparation? Energy deployment? Engine behavior? Suspension movement? Aerodynamic performance? Software? Source does not say. And without that answer, the accusation cannot be tested. That is why the next stage of this story matters so much. Because the difference between innovation and illegality is never decided by the drama of a headline. It is decided by the exact mechanism, the exact wording of the rules, and the evidence showing what the car was actually doing. Until those details emerge, Ferrari has not been proven guilty. Mercedes has not been proven to have created an illegal method. and Hamilton has not been proven to have benefited from one. What exists is a question. A dangerous question. And in Formula One, one unanswered technical question can be enough to place an entire team under pressure. And this is where the story becomes even more dangerous for Ferrari. Because once a team is linked to an allegedly illegal idea, every normal improvement begins to look suspicious. A stronger qualifying lap, a faster warm-up phase, a sudden gain in the final sector, a cleaner launch out of the last corner. Any one of those things can happen for completely legitimate reasons, but once doubt enters the conversation, people stop looking at the result. They start looking for the trick. That changes the pressure inside the garage. Ferrari would no longer be judged only by whether the car is fast. It would be judged by whether that speed looks believable. And Lewis Hamilton would feel that pressure more than almost anyone else. Hamilton's qualifying performances have always attracted enormous attention. When he finds speed, people analyze the lap. When he struggles, people analyze the car. And when a technical controversy appears around his team, every improvement can become part of the accusation. But that does not make the accusation true. The attached source still provides no description of the alleged system, no governing body ruling, no technical directive, and no evidence showing Ferrari copied anything from Mercedes. That means the central claim remains unproven. Still, the consequences of the claim can become real long before the evidence does. Rival teams may begin asking questions. Engineers may study Ferrari's behavior more closely. Journalists may search for similarities between the current car and earlier Mercedes concepts. And officials may face pressure to clarify whether a particular area of development is legal. This is how a Formula One technical dispute often begins. Not with a penalty, with suspicion. One team notices something unusual. Another team asks whether the rules allow it. The governing body reviews the wording. And suddenly, an idea that may have existed quietly for weeks becomes the most discussed subject in the paddock. But here is what most people miss. A qualifying advantage does not have to come from one dramatic device. It can come from several smaller effects working together. Tire preparation, energy deployment, neck temperature, car balance, track position, driver confidence. Each factor may produce only a small gain. Together, they can transform a lap. That is why proving the existence of a hidden trick is so difficult. The result can look extraordinary. The cause may be completely ordinary. Imagine a student who suddenly improves a test score. People may assume the student found a shortcut. But perhaps they studied differently, slept better, understood one difficult topic, and made fewer mistakes. The outcome changes. No single secret explains it. Qualifying performance can work the same way. A driver can find time because the tires enter the correct temperature window. The car can feel more stable under braking. The wind can change. The track can improve. The driver can finally connect 3 clean sectors. None of those things is illegal. But when a headline promises a secret trick, ordinary explanations suddenly feel less exciting. That is the danger. Drama begins replacing evidence. And once that happens, Hamilton becomes a perfect target. His history with Mercedes creates an easy connection. If Mercedes was previously associated with a controversial qualifying idea and Hamilton is now driving for Ferrari, people may assume knowledge moved with him. But that assumption is not proof. Drivers provide feedback. They describe how a car feels. They explain where they need more stability, more traction, or more predictable power. They do not usually carry complete engineering systems from one team to another.